There we go. Good morning, good morning. Oh my Lord, I made my coffee very strong this morning. Woo, like super, super strong this morning. And Mr. Chico is in here to say good morning to us as well. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a great Sunday morning. For those of you that are here and hanging out in the chat, we have our guest. I'll be introducing her really shortly. If you are interested in any of the information that we are talking about, you can find Brooklyn Ann's social media by doing exclamation point guest in the chat, and you'll be able to find that. And if you're watching this as a VOD, down below in the description, you'll be able to find all of her information so you can buy her books, see her artwork, and find out more about Brooklyn Ann. Are you getting comfortable over there? Mr. Chico is definitely getting comfortable. Good morning, Cora. How are you? What was the other thing I have to say? We might as well get going. I got my coffee. I definitely made my coffee way too strong. I don't know what the hell I was thinking last night. I got it ready last night thinking that, okay, yep, six cups, 6 scoops. I don't know. Maybe I added 7. I don't know. But nonetheless, it's still good and delicious. All right. It is time to bring on. I am doing fabulous, Cora. Good Screaming Horde. I hope everyone had a great weekend, and thank you so much for digging yourselves up on this morning to join me for Coffee Chat of Horror. I am excited to introduce our guest today. Her name is Brooklyn Ann, author and an artist whose tagline is Love for the Broken and Strange. Let's go and bring her on. We're going to do a quick little intro, and yeah, let's get it on. Hi, Ben.
Hi, creepy. I am ReAnimateHer.
I know, it just sounds like a porno all of a sudden. Some zombies start stripping their clothes off and shit.
Cat dead. Details later.
We got our ball cleavage back, ladies.
They're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming for you, Barbara.
Do you want to game and get your jollies off as well? This is Coffee Chat of Horrors. Hi, good morning. How is everybody? Now, this is Brooklyn Ann. I'm going to let her have the stage. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself and where you can find her books and art. Go for it, Brooklyn. Now, I had my mic muted on this side. I didn't realize that I did. This is Brooklyn. You can go and tell us about you and your books, where we can find you.
Okay. Well, I'm Brooklyn Ann, and I was originally a romance author, which is funny because I was a horror fan since I was 2 years old. But when I tried writing books, the characters always fell in love, so I resigned myself to romance. And then I'm like, I really, really do want to write horror though. And my boyfriend's like, well, why can't you do both? And then I really thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, instead of a final girl, I could have a final couple. So
Yeah,
I ended up getting a contract for a 4-book series, and they're like 80s B movies, but with a final couple instead of a final girl.
right. That's really cool, and I'm loving your collection in the background.
Yeah.
Definitely loving it. Yes. Which is your? I know it's hard as a collector myself. What is your favorite piece behind you?
Oh, that would have to be. It's a tie,
Yeah.
actually. I will get them down. First one is, of course, Freddy Krueger. He is my favorite. I
Nice.
saw Nightmare on Elm Street when I was 2 years old
Ooh,
and
nice.
was a Fred head ever since. I
Right.
just kind of made that up. Uh, my robe is getting stuck.
I
Okay.
know. I hate when I take my pictures down as well.
And then my other favorite, Angela from Night of the
Oh, Night of
Demons.
the Demons is a great movie. That's
And it's
awesome.
personalized to me. And oh yeah, my shirt representing.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's one of the things I do not have in my collection is anything from Night of the Demons.
Well,
Uh,
Amelia Kincaid is very active on Facebook, and then she often does sell autograph photos.
oh, I'm
And
gonna have
not
to
for
check
like
her out.
horribly expensive like Robert Englund
Oh
does.
my God, I know. His was very expensive, like 150 to $200 Canadian. So
Oh,
it's
yeah, no,
expensive.
my uncle goes to conventions all the time, and so that's how I got Robert, and that's how I got the Jason
That's
and
amazing.
Tim Curry. He got me Tim Curry.
That's awesome. I do have Jason myself, and I have actually a couple of Jason signatures from Kane Hodder, C.J. Graham, and Derek Mears to Michael Myers.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, Dick Warlock, believe it or not, that's his name, who played Michael Myers in part two.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness, I remember that now. What a wonderful name.
right? Dick Warlock. I mean, how can you make that shit up? Really nice guy. Really nice guy when I met him. I met him back in 2004, Chillicothe, New Jersey. Thanks, Sean. Thank you. I know we work really hard on our collections and our lovely backgrounds or forefronts because I was talking with Brooklyn last night and she was saying that normally she likes the
Sorry, hold
stare.
on.
Oh,
Muting.
oh,
Sorry.
no, it's all good. She was saying how she really enjoys looking at her art, her whole collection as she's working. So normally she's facing and seeing her beautiful stuff like I get to see above me that you guys don't. But yes, we all work really hard on our collection. So thank you very much, Sean. Now, I know I wanted to talk to you about your getting started as a horror writer or actually horror romance writer. And that was really cool that you were able to get a contract for some books already. Um, what was it like writing your first horror romance?
Oh, for the horror romance, because yeah, this was my third book contract.
Third book
But
contract. Oh, okay.
yeah, it was with a small press, and I'm just like, it was kind of career suicide for me to do this
Oh
series,
no.
but it was so happy for me,
Right.
you
Your
know?
heart must have felt happy that you were writing something that gave you passion on both sides, right? Horror and romance.
Yes, yeah. It was
Mhm.
amazing, and it's like I got to brutally slaughter 20 people in this book. His final girl.
Yes,
The
that's
cover looks
awesome.
like a YA romance, but that's because my publisher was used to marketing me as romance. But
Right.
I mean, I have like two people impaled with a chainsaw and
Oh,
fun
that's awesome.
decapitation,
That's nice. You gotta
an
have
homage to
gore.
Jason's sleeping bag scene in Jason X.
That's one of the best kills in the franchise. Besides
I
the
love
Freddy vs. Jason one where he closes the guy up in the mattress. That one was good.
that was so awesome.
Being bent backwards. Yeah, no,
And
it's
he
insane.
deserved it.
He did deserve it, 100%. For those of you just joining us, my awesome guest today is Brooklyn Ann. She is a author and artist. You are able to check out her information if you do exclamation point guest in the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask away. I will copy and paste your question so we don't lose it. Now, I read that you were a mechanic at one time.
Yeah.
How was that? I'm married a mechanic, so I know the life.
Doing it as a hobby was really fun. Like, I'd gotten started because I was poor, so
Right.
if you had a Chilton manual, it had pictures, and then you could just get the parts and do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And my first car was a Datsun wagon, and total beater, and everyone talked shit about her. It really hurt my feelings. My dad was always on my ass to get rid of her. He was even offering to help buy me a new car. And this is a guy who doesn't help financially with anything ever.
Right.
So that's how much he hated that car.
Oh my
Everyone's
Lord.
saying, drive it off a cliff. And I'm like, no, I love her, because my car's also, it's possessed.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to get into with it, but I really loved her, and her engine was getting worse and the timing was getting worse. And then I'm like, I am going to restore her. And everyone's like, you can't do that. And that's the best way to get me to do something.
Right, is to tell you can't do it. I know, that's awesome.
So I had fun all rebuilding the engine and restoring her, and I did the suspension, and I just really liked it. And then I even had a book character who was also a mechanic come into my head. She was very angry. It was interesting finding out, like, why she was so angry. And then she ended up with a cool Scottish vampire in Coeur d'Alene, you know. So that was fun. And that's really my novel, Wrenching Fate. It's the first of my urban fantasy series that's like my Dark Tower.
Right.
Every series ties to it. And then, of course, my Possessed Dotson is in that series. But her origin story is in my second book of the horror series, Her Haunted Heart.
Nice.
The character drives a Dotson, and eventually you learn how the Dotson gets possessed in that book.
Oh, that's awesome. It's got to be really cool to be able to bring part of your real life and vision alive in a book. And
it is. I grew up in a haunted house.
Yeah.
So I put in my author's note for that, Her Haunted Heart, that some of the events are actually based on stuff from my real experiences in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Some of them are not, and I will never tell which.
Right. No, that's what's going to keep it nice and mysterious, right? Keep people guessing on what happened and what hasn't. That's
that,
really
and I don't
cool.
think they'd believe me.
There are a lot of skeptics out there, but then there are those that believe. And there's actually more and more I notice come out as believers in the supernatural and paranormal than there's not. I talk about the paranormal quite a bit. There is a few spirits in my house, and every now and again you'll see an orb come in front. I don't ever notice it, but people who are watching will notice it pop up around here. There sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, it'll be here or around this area, and it'll come down for a visit. I never see it, but people in my community.
So it's a horror fan too.
Oh yes, probably.
Awesome.
Joy, good morning. Good morning, Zach. Good morning, Sean. How are we doing? Actually, Joy Toy is one of my mods, and she was the one who has told me a few times that there was something in my camera, like it, and you see it come in, but I don't physically see it. I'm busy entertaining and talking, so I don't normally see it. You
That's
grew up.
awesome.
Spirits are crazy. I believe in them. I believe that there's an energy that our body releases once dead, right? Our soul. You grew up in a haunted house as well, Cora. Yeah, a lot of people have. There's energies all over the place, and I don't think not all energies move on, right? So,
yeah. Well, it's a law of physics. It cannot be destroyed.
Yeah, it's energy. And that's how I look at it as well. Hello, Kleber. How are you? Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. You are in Brazil. And you cannot tell it's not one of Fu's. Yes, and you can tell it's not. One of Fu's, like I have my cat Fusa. She usually comes in here, but right now my door is shut and only Chico is in here. And she comes up and, she's fluffy. And there's a fur that comes off. And you can see the fur float by, right? This is definitely not a piece of fur.
I got kitties here too.
Oh, do you? How many do you have?
We have 3 right now. We did have 4, but the oldest, he was 20 and a half years old.
Oh, wow.
So we got to have a
Old.
long time with him.
Yes, very elderly. Yes. But that's nice. I have four myself and a Chihuahua. That's Mr. Chico, who you seen earlier. And then I have Fusa. She's my princess. She's my 5 minutes of screen time queen. And then I have my other three cats that have nothing to do with my setup here. You don't ever see them up here. And if there is, it's because I have treats for them, and then they act like crackheads.
As ours too.
Mm-hmm. Clever. I do have cats. I have four. You won't see them today because they're locked out. Afusa is a stream stealing kitty. Yes, she is. She is. Celtic, how are you? For those of you just joining us, my special awesome guest here is Brooklyn Ann, author and writer. She has so many amazing books out. If you do exclamation point guest in the chat, it'll bring up all of her information where you can find her books. Thank you, Joy Toy. And find out more about her. They're out of the room right now, Clever, but if you go to my Instagram or my Twitter, you'll be able to check them out. I've got tons of pictures of them up on both. Now, we've already found out that Brooklyn has been a mechanic, has a haunted vehicle, grew up in a haunted home, has a passion for horror films. So I want to know, Brooklyn, what sparked that love for the horror genre?
I've told this story a lot, but it's a fun one, and I still love to talk about it, especially because my mom's not with me anymore. But when I was 2 years old, I got out of bed and snuck and hid behind the couch while my mom was watching Nightmare on Elm Street. And my mom caught me.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like watching horror movies alone, and she saw that I wasn't scared. So she picked me up and plopped me on the couch beside her, and then we were horror buddies for the rest of her life. And then after my brothers came along, she'd tuck us all into bed, wait 20 minutes, tiptoe down to my room, open the door, and be like, Brooklyn, let's go watch a movie. And I'm like, all right.
Oh, that is a great memory. That is awesome. My grandmother got me into horror. With the Universal black and white horror movies. My mother wasn't a huge into the horror stuff at all. But that's a really great memory to have. Good morning,
She was so awesome.
That she does. She sounds like she's an awesome woman. That's great though. So that sparked your love for horror. And has horror influenced your life growing up?
Yeah. I definitely I was already an outcast for multiple other reasons, but
Most of
the
us
other
usually
kids
are.
definitely did not like hearing about Freddy Krueger.
No, they don't. They don't. And I feel you being influenced by horror. My favorite Universal monster is Frankenstein's monster because I can relate to him. As a child, I related to him the most, and I grew up loving Frankenstein's monster. As an outcast.
He was socially awkward.
Exactly.
How not to relate to.
That is definitely me on every level, and being picked on as a kid, and just knowing that horror was my go-to place. When I was old enough to start buying Fangoria magazines at the newsstand for like $5, I was taking my newspaper out money. That was about the age of 12. And I started buying my Fangoria magazines, which opened my world up to a whole other level, because back then we didn't have the internet. Mm-hmm. So that opened up the doorway for my life as well into the horror genre, and started doing this as later on as an adult. I would sneak in and watch movies. Pumpkinhead was your first movie at the age of 2? Right on, Cora. I think many of us snuck in to watch movies or had babysitters who were not responsible, because that's what happened to me.
I've traumatized a few babysitters.
Right? Good morning, Macabre. How are you? Serial Killer, good morning. If you are just joining us, this is Brooklyn Ann. She's an author and an artist. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Make sure either tag me so I can see it, so I make sure I get your question. You did get scared as a kid with Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street scared many kids. I don't even know how old I was when Nightmare came out. Your all-time clever is Hellraiser. Hellraiser's great film. Great book as well.
Well done.
Oh my God, the creativity. Definitely character creativity. Let's see. I already asked you. Favorite horror movie is Nightmare on Elm Street? And if it is,
Yep.
which chapter? Oh, like, do you have one favorite chapter, or is it just like I love them all?
I have it's kind of just a holy trinity for me. The
Mm,
first one is, of course, like gold. Like that's the one where Freddy was actually scary, and where
yes.
you're just blown away with the new concept because I mean, it's never really been done before,
Nope.
and the concept of that, there's a monster that can come to you if you fall asleep in your dreams and kill you. I mean, that's was just mind blowing and revolutionary. And then Tina in the body bag, all those stuck with me big time. But and then Dream Warriors, that was all the kids
Yeah.
bonding together. That's when the franchise figured out that having a good friend group worked. But they only really made it work for part 3 and 4. It didn't
Right.
really have the chemistry in any of the other films. But a lot of part 4, the Dream Master, gets a lot of hate.
It
And
does.
yes, it is utterly ridiculous that Freddy was brought back by a dog peeing fire in a junkyard, but hilarious for little kid me. So,
Yeah.
and
Well, of
the
course.
deaths in that were so clever.
They were
The
very
cockroach
artistic.
one, the waterbed, I loved all of them.
Oh yeah, they were very artistic in their kills. It wasn't just like a Jason kill where he came in with a machete and sliced you down. There was an
Hmm.
artistic style when Freddy killed. See, Michael, Jason, and Freddy, yeah, they may be all slashers, but the one that had the most creative kills would be Freddy. And I guess it would go hand in hand because he was a sleep demon, right? He would get you in your
Yeah.
sleep. But Dream
I
Warriors is my favorite.
Definitely. I have the controversial opinion that Freddy, I don't count him as a slasher.
No,
I
he's
think that
not
he's a
really.
monster. Like kind of like the old Hammer films and my yeah, oh, why am I spacing it? Not Warner Brothers, but the early Dracula and Frankenstein Wolfman.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
feel like the modern versions of those was Pinhead and Freddy and the tall man from Phantasm.
Oh my God, that tall man was scary as fuck.
Yes, I wish I need to get him on my horror wall, but
Yeah, I would love to have something of him as well.
that's not in my budget.
I know, so expensive. Thank you so much for subscribing, Denise D. Dream Warriors, yes, macabre, right? That's one of my favorites. And I would have to agree with you. I don't consider Freddy a slasher per se, but as his storyline goes out, a lot of people stop watching after 3. And they don't realize that once you get down into the lore of Freddy, he becomes a sleep demon. That's his origin, right? Well,
Hmm.
being killed and burned alive. But that, yeah, and they'll argue with you that he is a slasher, and I'm like, well, yeah, he can be considered a slasher because he does do some slashing, but he's more of a supernatural realm. Where same thing with Hell Priest, like he's an interdimensional demon.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's in the same genre. People don't consider Pinhead or Hellraiser a slasher. I don't consider it a slasher either, but you do have
Hmm.
those others that would consider it. Yes, Cora, Freddie is definitely more creative, and the boobs in the waterbed was so good and totally would have got me. Right? Good morning, Talking Ben the dog, and Mr. Scott. How are you doing? Good morning, Brooklyn. Good morning, Ra. Hello to Brooklyn. We just spoke with her a couple of weeks ago. Great to see you both chatting. Yes, you were on, my friend. It's Mr. Scott's. They have a podcast. Necro.
Yeah, Necrocasticon.
That's it. Necrocasticon. And they're pretty awesome people. If you
They're
guys have any
great.
questions for Brooklyn, post them in the chat and I will grab them and ask them for you. Would you say that Freddy is a supernatural slasher? He can be considered under the slasher genre. He's not. I don't know if I want to say supernatural. He's a sleep demon. Um. So, but I don't want people thinking that he's like some kind of ghost that comes up. When people think supernatural, they automatically think of like ghosts and the undead
I
coming back.
consider demons supernatural. I really
They
do.
would be in the supernatural umbrella, right?
That's how I play it in my book series
Yeah.
anyway.
Nice, nice.
That my demons are secular.
Oh, okay. Now, can you go into that? Like, how do you create your demons or your characters? Where do you pull that creativity from?
Um, I didn't really. I've been a little traumatized by traditional like religious mythology and upbringing. And then also it's like been done before. So I don't really didn't want to do the bad thing can be taken out with holy water or whatnot.
Right.
And although I do have like even the summer camp slasher had a demonic origin, but they're more like evil elemental spirits
Right.
or possibly from another dimension, but it's not really hell as we know it. I
Yeah.
mean, they're definitely evil,
Right.
but in her Halloween party, that is my love letter to Night of the Demons.
Oh, I kind
And
of got that when the cover of
yeah,
that. Now that you
I
say
was
it, it
really
definitely
going
puts
for
two and
that.
two together. Hmm. Tell us about that book. Like what? Okay, so before you tell us about that book, which one out of your series of books is your most favorite? Like your, do you have one?
I do. Well, I was funny. I was talking about it last night because my movie club introduced my son to the movie Carrie for the very first time.
Oh, nice.
And I just had three book ideas. I wanted to do a Night of the Demons love letter, I wanted a summer camp slasher, and I wanted a haunted house that could be based on the haunted house I grew up on in. And the publisher's like, "No, no, no, let's do a four-book series." And it's like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Ooh, the prom." But I think that one pacing wise and love story wise was the best written. But the one that from the reviews and honestly the most fun once I got over like there were some difficult parts setting up pacing wise,
Right.
especially the are my characters going to be dumb and have sex in the evil house? I
Mm,
originally wasn't going to do that, but the
right.
editor's like, "Oh, the pacing's a little lopsided. I think that they should wait until they're in the house to do it." And at first I'm like, "No," because I wanted to write my characters to not be dumb like in the
Right.
80s B movies. But
Yep.
so see what happened if you got smarter characters in a B movie situation.
Mhm.
But I remember my original mission with the first book, the summer camp slasher, everybody who has sex lives. I was doing a subversion on that.
Right. Do the twist.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, no, it does work. So I went ahead and let them have sex in the evil house. But anyway, that one was also the reviews came back and people actually got nightmares from it.
Oh, wow. You know your
I
book
thought,
is
I mean,
good
I was
when?
going for tease, but
Yeah.
somehow in that book, I ended up being like legit scary sometimes. So I'm really proud of myself. And I got to talking with my agent, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to write this thing because it'll be like the most ambitious thing ever. But
Ooh.
I'm going to write a big coming of age horror. I'll
Oh,
have to do it under a
nice.
different name because people expect a romance and a happily ever after.
Right.
And this is going to be all like 11 or 12-year-old girls. So,
Yes.
and I'm
Oh,
not Stephen King and going to have an inappropriate scene in a sewer, you know?
yeah.
That's my favorite book ever, but
Oh, right
everybody
on.
knows.
Good morning, Mischief. Good morning, Bumpiest. Hey, Ra, I have a question for Brooklyn. If you could write a book about an iconic horror villain, but change it to make it your own, who would it be?
Oh, for an actual specific villain, because I mean, I did with a movie with Night of the Demons, but an iconic villain, I would say it's a tie. I would love to do something Freddy like, but Freddy's such a unique concept that if I went, oh, this thing kills you in your dreams, then it seems more of a ripoff than an homage. So
Yes.
I haven't worked out how I can deal with that yet. Now, Pennywise and that's my favorite book. I've read it 13 times and counting.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that book. And that has a little bit more flexibility where I could do something that's more of an homage instead of a ripoff. And that is kind of where I'm going with the coming of age horror I'm working on. But I can't really, I have like figured out what it's going to symbolize and other things that are going to be like wholly unique to me and not going
Right.
to be ripping off of Pennywise. But I can't really say more because
Nope, you don't want to
I
give
haven't
too much
written it
away.
yet.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. And Clever wants to know, do you play video games? And if you do you play any horror video games, Brooklyn?
I've seen some people play some of them horror video games, and if I didn't work 3 jobs, I would probably get addicted to those like crack. But between reading books, binging on movies, and working 3 jobs, I'm like, I gotta draw the line somewhere. Now, I'm
Yeah.
really trying to get my Sega Genesis hooked back up so I can play Sonic the Hedgehog
Right
again,
on.
and I also want to get the Super Nintendo emulator reinstalled so I can play the Mario games.
Nice. Right on. I love my horror games. That is what I do. My main income is my Twitch streams. Then that's where I showcase indie horror games. Some of them are jump scares, some of them are psychological horrors, others are FPS, like first
They
person
look
shoot
so
'em.
fun.
Oh, they are fun. I like, gonna sound strange, but I like being scared. The adrenaline that
Me
shoots
too.
through me when I get scared, it's a great high. Um, and so I enjoy being scared. So if a game makes me jump and scream, you know it's a good game. There have been games I've played where it was just like, okay, all right, it's a cool game, but it didn't make me scared or scream. But then
Yeah,
there are games out there that make me scream like a little girl. They're fun.
that's fun and spooky vibe. I
Yeah.
forgot what somebody was playing, but it was all like done in grayscale and
Oh,
looked all like gloomy and stuff. And it definitely you could tell there weren't going to be any jump scares in this, but it
right.
was just like had this whole vibe of nice spooky eeriness around it. And I'm
And
like, I like
yeah.
the ambiance of this game.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few really good games that they don't have jump scares. They're more of a story mode game, but they're creepy and atmospheric. So it gives you that like you're watching a horror movie or you're in a horror movie type of feel. Those games are quite a bit of fun. Celtic says retro is awesome. High five, Brooklyn. I haven't played Little Nightmares at all, Clever, but a serial killer has. And Serial, you're saying that for you, Freddy is a slasher. A slasher isn't just the killer, but also the style of film that falls into it. Alcohol, sex, drugs, teens, all being terrorized by a killer. Makeup. It does make up a slasher, but usually a slasher is slashing as well. So you can have your sex and your drugs and your teens, and you can find that in most horror movies. So like Hellraiser, you have that in Hellraiser. Instead of teen sex, it's adult sex. There is some teen stuff going on there.
Mhm.
But you can find that really in any genre. For me, technically, what I consider slashers, I consider Jason and Freddy, no, Jason and Michael. I consider Charlie from Charlie's Farm, American Mary, American Psycho. I do not consider Leatherface a slasher, but again, it's upon that slasher genre. He's more of cannibal, hillbilly horror in my eyes than compared to a slasher. Um, they do in some instances they do. But again, what I can like I said, what I consider an actual slasher for me is villains like Jason and Michael. That to me
Definitely.
is a typical slasher because it is exactly in that genre: sex, alcohol, being terrorized by a man in a mask. Where I don't really, I mean, he is under that slasher genre, but I don't consider him like a slasher, if that makes sense. Oh, Celtic has a question for you, Brooklyn. Would
Okay.
would you, if you had the time, would you ever play the Resident Evil games?
I've seen them and they look really fun, and I definitely would want to delve into those. I watched a lot of people play the Silent Hill games, and I'm like, ooh, I
Those are
really want to
creepy.
try those. But
Yeah.
again, it all comes down to time.
Hi, Petro. I know time is something that we don't have a lot of, and it gets built. My time gets taken by all the work that I have to do and the adulting in my adult life, which I friggin' hate. I really wish
Yeah.
time was more slow down a bit more so I can get all the awesome gaming in and the art stuff in, and I just don't have a lot of
Mhm.
time for everything that I want to do, right? Being an adult sucks.
It really does.
Did you play Zombies Ate My Neighbor? Yes, I have. Brooklyn, did you play Zombies Ate My Neighbor growing up at all?
I didn't. Tell me about it.
Oh, it's a great game. I wish I have it. Oh, you know what? I won't be able to show you. It's on my Nintendo Switch. But basically, you are a character and you have to go around and save your neighborhood. But it's not like your newer style game today. It would be more like a platformer than something like Sonic. It's definitely not like Sonic, but you do have to go through these areas and you have to protect your neighbors from the zombies that are going to try to eat them. And so there's little things that you get to do, and you have to cross through, and you can actually collect the gun or whatever weapon you're using. And then there's stuff that you can walk around. I don't know what would you call that? What category
What
is that?
console was that on?
Oh, what console did it come out on? I play it currently on my Nintendo Switch. Um, there was a question here as well that I missed. Does anybody know what console it came out on?
Because my experience is just like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis, and then it kind of died after that.
Right, Super Nintendo, and it's a platformer. Okay, so I was right. It was Super Nintendo as well.
Oh, if I get that Super Nintendo emulator downloaded, I will look for that game.
Thank you, Celtic. One of the atmospheric games that Bumpy has just mentioned, I'm currently playing, is called Martha is Dead. Check that
Ooh.
out. Oh, it is very eerie. The atmosphere is creepy. It's not really a jump scare game per se. It's more of a storyline and a psychological horror with
Ooh.
a bit of a twist. Have you seen the TV show I Know What You Did Last Summer? Not the movie, but the TV show.
I haven't.
Okay, no, I'm only asking because it's basically that storyline. Well, a part of that storyline where I'm gonna ruin it. So, spoiler, cover your ears if you don't want to hear it. Um, in the TV show, I Know What You Did Last Summer, there's twins, and the one twin dies, and so the other twin takes on the persona and life of that twin. So,
Oh,
Martha
wow.
is Dead is done in the 1940 era in Italy, and it
Ooh.
brings in the German War, and she basically takes over her twin sister's life and persona, and has to pretend her twin sister is deaf, so she has to pretend to be deaf
Whoa.
on top of it. It's really good. I haven't finished it yet. I don't even think I'm halfway into it, but it's a really good story so far from what I have been playing. And now you can play all the RE. Yes, you can. And Clever wants to know, do you guys play the Evil Within franchise? No, I haven't played the franchise. I love the Suffering games and the Eternal for Dark. Oh, Eternal Darkness for GameCube. Nice. I know you were trying to play that one day on stream. I do have some questions for my Patreon people. Harjar, who is not able to be here, wanted to know, when writing, are there any rules that you follow and a line you will never cross? Great question, Harjar, by the way.
I don't think that I would ever kill a pet on the page.
I hate that trope.
Yeah, yeah. Now I did have some implied of getting it off the page in my prom horror, his Scream Queen. This girl ends up summoning a demon that pretty much grants her wish to make her beautiful and her family rich, and she wants to be prom queen. And
Ah,
the demon, though, demands gifts, so she starts out killing the neighborhood pets, but of course the demon wants more. So then she moves on to livestock. And then she starts killing off any girl who could be her rival, because by then the demon's really playing her, and then in the end it takes over. So
yeah,
instead of, I have it set up like Carrie, only it's in the 80s. So
right.
the hero and heroine get voted prom king and queen. But I let them have their dance before all hell breaks loose. I told my friend Hans, I'm like, so I had him dance to Total Eclipse of the Heart for you because we were making fun of that in our movie club. And then the demon takes over the girl, and somebody even dies by disco ball.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Death by ball. Joey Toy says, thank you very much. Stopped reading Joe Hill's because he keeps gruesomely killing dogs in each fucking book. And I agree with you. The you know, if it's off scene, if it's insinuated, is a whole other story. But seeing an animal killed on screen it's just, I'm done with it. And I know a lot of horror movies, it is a trope in the horror genre. Even in some of the action films where the guy's dog gets murdered because the CIA or the FBI, whatever it may be, wants to pull him back into the business. I can't stand that. But insinuated where you don't actually see it, you think it may have happened, that's not bad. There's a few
I was
tropes.
even nice and had somebody's missing dog come back home, so the
Nice.
villain didn't get him.
Right. So that's really nice. Death by Disco Ball does sound awesome, Cora. I will have to agree. Zombie Guts and Petrol Ball.
It was fun to write.
I bet it was fun to write. I really wish I had the ability to write. I just started blogging, and my blogging is just me putting out the words on a blog.
It's
suck at
hard.
grammar.
I do a
gotta be.
newsletter and I slack on them because I mean I just like what do I even say? You know, I'm like I suck. And then I mean even on a manuscript, I'll sit there staring at the blank page, being all, what even are words?
Right? How I'm really bad at that. It's just and I always I journal, right? But journaling is completely different than writing a book or writing a blog in that aspect. So I've been trying to branch out and actually do those things. Now I'm not a writer. I don't plan on being a writer. I just like getting my thoughts out on some type of paper. Have you seen the movie Witch?
I have, but I wasn't in a very good headspace while I was watching it. So my first impression was that I was pretty bored until the goat showed up.
I loved it.
And then I was all for the goat. That was metal as fuck. I'm like, yes. So
Right?
I am going to give it a rewatch and
It's not,
reevaluate.
you know what, it's not bad, and definitely headspace does play a big role in how you feel about a film. And that question came from Kleber when asking about the movie Witch. It does get a little drawn out in my opinion, but yes, the goat is awesome. I have a death llama stuffed animal that was made for me by one of my community members. I fucking love my death llama. He sleeps right next to my bed.
That's awesome.
Right? Get excited for those things. But yes, the goat is awesome in that movie. Hi, Lost Signal. How are you? It's so good to plot out your thoughts on paper. Yes, I don't do any writing because it's definitely difficult, but I like to journal my thoughts. Writing is hard. I am writing a book of short stories and I have writer's block. So with Cora saying that, Brooklyn, as a writer yourself, have you ever ran into writer's block? And if you have, how did you get yourself out of that like creative funk?
I've gotten writer's block several times. Honestly, the worst one, and it's what delayed the release of Her Halloween Party by a whole year, because with the pandemic, there was a lot of stress going on, and something else happened. I forgot what it was, but I was just really, really bogged down. And then there was the intimidation factor, because I was writing a love letter to Night of the Demons and Rose Red, two of my like all-time favorite spooky house movies, and trying to get in like the vibe and the cheese, and then of course working in the romance, because it's, you gotta have it balanced. And that one and His Final Girl, I feel like the pacing wasn't the best in it, because when there's all the murder and mayhem going on, it's really hard to be having the getting to know each other courtship.
Right.
So I had to have them already established when the mayhem happened, so then they could bond closer by teaming up and kind of becoming a power couple while they're slaughtering demons.
That's awesome, a power couple. That's great. That's an awesome thing. And I know a lot of creatives, they get, whether it's writer's block or art, just not being able to get themselves out of a funk. And sometimes it's really hard. Serial Killer wants to know, how do you stop writing? He says that, you see, I enjoy writing, but my problem is I can never stop adding more to it. And then the story ends up getting so long and convoluted, it never seems like enough when writing.
Now, that's an interesting one because that did happen with me in a very, very early book, a fantasy novel. It's what's now to the world, that one's Conjuring Destiny, but I rewrote that book like 4 times, and I had to cut like 70% of it out.
Oh, wow.
The two things that would probably help is reading Strunk and White's Elements of Style. That one's really, really short, so, and Stephen King's On Writing. Now, the cool part about Stephen King's On Writing, that one is also not as big of a book for the purpose as it looks, because half of it's like an autobiography, which is honestly my favorite part of it. Like the when he describes being all broke and getting the paperback rights for Carrie for 67 grand,
Yeah.
and this is like in the 70s, so that's like $1 million.
Oh, yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
I like cried.
It's great seeing others' perspective and where they started out and where they've become, and what trials and tribulations they had to deal with. Because I know what in the 80s he had a really bad cocaine habit, and to see his progression or read about his progression as a writer author coming up, and seeing his whole evolution and seeing where he is now.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Serial Kill says thank you for that. Into three. Oh, so
I
Cora
got
did.
a little off topic there
No,
though, because
go for it.
the on writing section, half of on writing, he actually talks about the whole omit needless words and when you have to cut stuff out, and he's really helpful about that. Now, his advice on finding an agent and getting published, very outdated, not useful at all. Sorry, Mr.
Right.
King.
So on that note, how do you find, for someone who's out here looking to get their stuff published, how do you find someone to work with?
Um, First, you start out your favorite, like, mainstream published authors. Find out who their agent is. Often their agent is thanked in the credits.
Hmm.
And then there was a website. I don't know how good they are anymore, but they were really useful. It was called Query Tracker. And that would actually give a list of agents that represent authors in whatever genre you're writing. And then you'd also cross-reference them in a forum called Absolute Right. And there'd be threads on every single agent, so you'd find out how long does it take them to respond. And you'd also get writers beware, because
Right,
there are some crooked agents. If an agent asks you for money, then they're not a legit agent. An
right.
agent takes a 15% cut after they've sold your book. They're like a cross between a pimp and a lawyer, is what an agent is. And it was funny, I got rejected by my dream agent like 6 times before I got her on accident.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And would you want to share or elaborate on how you got it by accident?
Okay, yeah, this was weird. I ended up getting a publisher and an agent out of this. My RWA chapter, that's Romance Writers of America, they decided to throw a conference in Spokane. And the way that it was getting discussed in meetings, it sounded like this conference was going to be a disaster. But no, they actually pulled it off. And I went, and I was really shocked that there was an agent taking pitches. And then Burroughs Publishing Group, the publishers of the Be Mine series, the horror romance series, they were there too. But at the time, I was pitching my heavy metal romance.
Oh, nice.
And I have major, major, major social anxiety. And even, if I take my meds, but I still showed up for the pitch, and I pulled this amazing pitch out of my rear. I don't know how. I just like came out, and the publisher was like, "Ooh, like really interested," and they're like, automatically send me the manuscript right now, and I'm all, "Oh, that's good." But then when I got to the agent, I'm like, "Oh God, this is like the agent that rejected me like 6 times. Oh my God!" But I sort of tried to repeat the miracle pitch, but it came out really awkward. And she was just very, very impassive faced, but she's like, "Okay, send it to me."
Right.
And then a month later, I got a phone call from her. And that's what we usually call the call, because that's when they offer representation. But she started out and said no mainstream publisher would touch this book because the rock star romances that are selling now are all like, they're billionaires and it's erotica. And I wrote it how like the heavy metal industry really is. None
Right.
of them are billionaires.
No.
And they don't stay in fancy hotels and ride in limos because that comes out of their royalties. So they're like crammed like sardines on a tour bus, and everyone's struggling to be able to bathe between gigs. And so I had it like really gritty. And how the hell are you supposed to find love in those kind of conditions?
Yeah, exactly.
But she's like, I love the drug culture you put in there. And I thought it was a rejection at first because she's like, this won't sell because of this and this and this. But she's all, but I'm going to offer you representation.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
And I just got the rights back to that metal romance, so I re-released them all with new covers and everything, and good times.
Very, very cool. One of my friends, Lament Butterfly, her husband is in the group Hell Witch. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Oh, we have.
Yeah, she's very deep into the metal industry. And yeah, she's busy renovating her place, so she'll probably end up watching this after the fact, because she has a couple of places that she's in the middle of renovating. But she is definitely into metal, big time. You're a millionaire metal star? My life is pure glamour. Right? It's not pure glamour when you're starting out, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
It takes forever. Busy Pixie? Yeah, Pixie is always busy. Well, she goes by the name Pixie, but she also goes by the name Lament Butterfly. I met her, I don't know if you know the parody group, the Merkins or the Slash Street Boys. They dress up as slashers.
Oh, yeah, I know about them.
They do boy band music, but in slasher style. She is one of the lyricists for them.
Oh, sweet.
So some of their songs that she has helped write, they're funny as hell. You have almost 20 years playing metal? Right on, clever. What's your band's name? She is? Fuck her and her fixing shit. I know. She's got a lot of damage, though, she had to fix from renters. The Merkins command should work. I don't know if it does or not, but there's the Merkins. Also, exclamation point guest in the chat will bring up Brooklyn Ann's information, her Facebook, where you can get her books, where you can check out who she is. Now, I do have some fun questions for you, like, if you could be any monster at all, it doesn't have to be from the main group, like Dracula, vampire, werewolf, whatever, but any monster at all, what monster would you be?
I'd definitely be Freddy, because creating a whole dream world is awesome. Like, he can just make the environment whatever, and then just run his victims through it, and then do the cat and mouse thing. That's fun.
That is, right? To build your own world where it only can be accessed via dream. How would you have your, how would you be able to materialize in that? Like how Freddy was on Fear, right? You had to know who Freddy was in order for him to be able to materialize outside of the dream world. Hi, Blessed. How are you? Happy Sunday. Let's see here. Just trying to make sure I have all my questions. I've got a lot of stuff on my notepad here. Okay, so we got Serial's question out of the way. That one's done. Delete that one. Do you think horror game developers, writers, and movie makers are all potential serial killers?
No.
Nah. I think it's only natural to I don't want to say fantasize, but even daydream about murdering somebody, but it doesn't mean that they are going to be a serial killer. I do a lot of that myself. But I don't believe that the creators who create these slashers or books or artwork are even close to being serial killers. I think it's just a fantasy or what they receive as their creative outlet. I mean, look at Clive Barker. He's got some crazy shit. Barker. Yeah, I love him too, right? You've got Clive Barker, Wes Craven, who pulled a lot of his stuff out from his own imagination and his own nightmares. The same thing that goes with, I can't even think of it at the moment. Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some crazy stuff. Oh, it is a genuine question, and for sure, Clever. It definitely. I don't think so. I know there's a big debate on whether horror is bad for you, or if you're a horrible person if you like horror. I think that has
Same with metal.
same with
And they
metal.
intertwine so much.
They definitely do. They definitely do. I've seen, well, back in the day, 80s, early 90s, where you were considered satanic panic, where metal,
Mm-hmm. The
Metallica of all
PMRC.
bands was considered to be demonic. And it's like, Metallica, please. I listen to Obituary, listen to that shit.
Right?
uh,
A
but what are,
merciful fate.
right? What are your thoughts on that whole thing about if you're writing for that genre, do you have like Kleber was asking, do you think that there is some sort of evil or serial killer tendencies behind that? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think that the majority, there was one writer, and the funny thing is he didn't write horror, but they did find out he was a serial killer. I cannot remember. I think it was either literary fiction he wrote or something else. But excluding him, I think most of us are just like socially awkward creative types, and
Right?
we get everyone purges their positive and negative emotions in a different format. The muse takes whatever form, and
Yeah.
mine just, like you were saying, I like being scared, I like being spooky. Well, that's like sharing the experience and
Yes.
being all like, what if I could actually scare somebody like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the art that goes into it, like I said, that image of Tina in her body bag when to 2-year-old me
Yeah.
was just woo. And I'm like, I want to be able to pull that off. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a powerful reaction.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Reaper, good morning or good afternoon. Dahi, hello, hello. People should just be happy that it's taking place fictionally. Exactly. Now,
Oh, sure.
don't get me wrong, there have been serial killers who are artists. We've got Gacy, the BK killer. You've got a lot that are artists. But they usually draw what they have done or fantasized of to do. There is
Or
also,
clowns.
yeah, right? I have a cannibal cookbook that was written by, because cannibal, if you know me, cannibals interest me. The whole history of cannibalism, the everything about it, and I have a book, a cookbook that's written by a self-proclaimed cannibal who was arrested, and he's called the Vampire of Paris. His name is
Holy
Nico.
shit.
Yeah, Nico Clocks. I can't pronounce his last name, but that is the book that I have. And he was recently released from prison in 2002. He was a morgue attender. He's got a very interesting background. He's on Instagram and he does Instagram lives. He even has a whole website dedicated to
Whoa.
his stuff. The serial killers, true crime, cannibals, they all interest me. I get fascinated by their stuff. Not that I ever want to try human flesh, not my thing, but
Yeah,
they're,
that's one of the two meats I refuse to eat.
yeah, I'm not into that. But it's really cool, interesting history. I have several cannibal books. This is just my one of my cookbooks. But it doesn't make me a cannibal, right? Like,
Yeah.
I like to read about it. I like to understand the societal aspects of it as well, because this is actually done in some cultures as a normal thing. And it back into some tribes where it's a normal thing. So I don't think because someone likes something that they are wanting to be that or wanting to put that out there. I don't think I'd be, no, I'm not the type to go out and murder people, even though sometimes I
I'm too
fascinate.
lazy.
Exactly. And that means I have to leave my house. And if
Yeah.
you know me, I don't leave my house. I only leave my house to go shopping.
Same.
You guys would try human? I gather if it was cooked correctly. Yes, Petra Bowl, a cannibal cookbook. And it does go into like the best parts of the body, just like
I
a
would
cow. Like,
Eat
so,
anything except for human or cat.
Oh, and I know cat is a delicacy in in some cultures out there. Cat and dog is a delicacy. So is monkey. But again, it's from different culture.
Oh wow, that's just fascinating.
It's a really cool book, and then that's why I bought it because it's different than some of the other books that I have on cannibalism. And he goes into, don't go getting your meat illegally because that is what he got in trouble for. Basically, going to a grave that was just done and digging it up. So he goes into don't do that stuff, all that kind of fun information. Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter. I like Hannibal Lecter. His story is loosely based off of another actual serial killer.
Oh, I remember that.
Most likely pork. I wouldn't be surprised if we taste like pork. That's why we're called the long pig. If you ever
Yep.
hear the word long pig, that's
I did.
describing a human. Yeah.
Game of Thrones books.
Yes, that too. Long pig is human. So if you ever hear that, if someone says, "Oh yeah, I had some long pig," that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about a really long fucking pig. They're talking about human flesh. Clever. Don't you think serial killer movies and books can actively influence real serial killers?
I really don't think so. It's usually the reverse. Like, there was Gacy and a couple other killers that influenced King slightly with it.
Yes.
And same like you were just saying, Thomas Harris's Silence of the Lambs was loosely based on a killer. But it was interesting. The film Natural Born Killers did influence some copycats, which it's just like people misinterpreting Fight Club. Like, no, you weren't supposed to emulate Mickey and Mallory. They were the symbolism of the US's obsession with extreme violence.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't, and how we're desensitized to it and glorify it. That was not supposed to be taken as a positive message. That said, that's one of my favorite on-screen romances. Usually movies do pretty bad with romance, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Romance novels made me a little snobby when it comes to how a love story is supposed to be done.
I love Natural Born Killers. It's one of my top movies. I love Mickey and Mallory. I love their relationship, their evolution from where they started again to where they are throughout the film. Their undying love for one another, and literally undying love for one another. There's nothing that neither of them would do for one another. And I think that's a great love story.
I spotted a question in the chat above the serial killer one.
Oh, I missed one. Okay.
And I've got to really, this answer is really funny. So, oh shoot, I didn't do the screen name.
Oh,
Let me see if I can.
Are you talking about Zombie Guts? When did you know you wanted to be a writer, or did you want to do something else, or always a writer? Thank you, Zombie Guts, for the question. I apologize for missing it.
This is really funny. So, I did start writing little short stories about, having a talking cat, and we'd go out and fly on a room together or something. And I'd write little stories about the ghosts in my haunted house. And my teachers would always be like, "Oh, you're going to be a great writer." But for a while, no, I was hardcore into dinosaurs. So I was like, "No, I'm going to be a paleontologist." And then like by middle school or high school, I'm like, "No, I'm going to be a rock star," because I really loved heavy metal. But unfortunately, I suck at musical instruments and I'm not that good of a singer. And I'm in Idaho, so you can't really make a metal band in Idaho. It just doesn't work here. But and anyway, then my mom also, same age when I was 2, while she was introducing me to horror movies, she was an artist. Her parents went into debt to get her an easel. So I was painting since I was 2, and Mom made sure to get me in all the art classes that she could get me in. We were poor, so it was, whatever public school had to offer. But I even got accepted into like one of the most prestigious fine arts colleges in the US. But I ended up also getting pregnant. But I couldn't afford the like $6,000 a semester tuition.
Yeah.
And much less to go move to Seattle and live there. It wasn't going to happen. But anyway, I was like, no, I'm not going to be a writer. I'm going to be a fine artist. I'm going to maybe illustrate, do book covers, which I do a lot of my own book covers. Not for this horror series yet, but for my other series, I do those covers. So No, it wasn't until after I had my son and I had like a full ass book written where I'm like, oh shit, I am a writer.
Right on. Now on the topic of artists, I went to your website. I was creeping, yeah, and I seen that you were creating some really cool stuff. I seen that you had some Hellraiser. Tell us about your artwork, and do you still continue to do your artwork? Is any of your artwork for sale anywhere?
I do have some on Redbubble. Some of my scratchboard designs are available on like mugs and things, whatever was big enough for. Um, oh yeah, no, the Hellraiser one is on Redbubble. I did that scratchboard for my brother. Now a scratchboard, it's a board covered with a light coating of white clay and then topped with India ink. And what you do is you have a like sharp, like almost like a pen nib, and you scrape off the material to show the white underneath. So you're basically doing everything in negative. And
Oh.
I am slacking on it. I'm doing a scratchboard for a friend's birthday, but I was supposed to give it to him over a year ago, but I got bogged down with other stuff. Now, the other thing that my family always did was painted block quilts. So there's these ballpoint fabric paints. They're harder to find these days, but I was so glad I could still find them. And I always painted the squares, and I wasn't that good at sewing. So my mom or grandma would always do the sewing. And I made a quilt with all guitars for my boyfriend.
Hmm.
And then realized with how I could layer the paint, I'm like, oh shit, I wonder what I could do. And that's where I got my horror quilt. I don't know if we're able to screen share it. I didn't have a feasible way to display it. So I painted all the like covers of my favorite movies. And then I did get a sewing machine and I did learn how to sew. I did not do as good a job as grandma though.
Yeah, I don't sew. My daughters though, they're very artistic. My youngest one can sew, and she can use all different mediums of art, chalk, paints, hand drawing, and we encourage it. We've always
Oh,
encouraged
awesome.
both of our daughters to embrace their artistic side. So I find that there's some people out there that don't allow their children to embrace that, and they try to hide it. If your child
Yeah.
or is artistic in any way, you should be helping them and engulf that and bring that out in them.
Oh, thank you, Zombie Guts.
Yeah, I was creeping here a few minutes ago. You are very talented. She is. Brooklyn Anna is very talented. If you do exclamation point guest, you're able to pull up a lot of the information about Brooklyn Ann. She's got an Instagram, a Facebook. She's on Goodreads, her website. There's a lot that you can check out. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. And yes, Serial, I am a creeper, especially when I have guests on the show. I like to know about them. Hardcore potatoes. Hardcore potatoes. That sounds interesting. Good
I
day, Dark
fucking
Psycho.
love potatoes.
I love potatoes too.
So
One of
they must have seen my Facebook page. One of my like pinned pictures is like we got I'm honestly not in the potato part of Idaho. I'm in the huckleberry part of Idaho up north of that. But
Mhm.
we had a friend give us 50 pounds of potatoes and they were this big.
Oh my God, that's huge
So it took
potato.
up the whole plate. I had this loaded baked potato and I'm like that is like so beautiful.
I love potatoes myself. I I eat potato skins, loaded potato skins at least once a week, if not twice a week. And I eat a lot of potatoes. I love potatoes. Dark Psycho, how are you doing? Thank you. I'm doing good. Oh, Mischief Maker wants to know, are any of your books on audiobook? I listen to a lot of audiobooks while at work.
Sadly, no. I'm don't have enough money to get a narrator. I really want to get my books in audio though, so I'm trying to figure out like maybe like a Patreon or a GoFundMe, but I'm like I need to be able to offer something in return. I mean, obviously anybody who contributed would get, the first audio copy, but I don't know. I think I need to raise like at least $1,000 to be able to pay a narrator to do that. Now, there are royalty share programs, but the problem is you have to be exclusive to certain platforms and you don't get your full rights to your own book for 8 years.
Oh,
And then
Lord.
after having book rights tied up, just the print books tied
Right.
up, I don't want to be in that position again.
I don't blame you. Have you thought about doing it yourself?
Oh God, no, I sound like a chipmunk on meth. Especially now that I got this denture thing, so I have this slight lisp now until I can learn how to talk with this thing in. But I'm not missing a front tooth anymore, so that's
No,
nice.
no, that's good. Dylan, hello. I'm glad you're doing well, Dark Psycho. If you're just joining us, our awesome guest here is Brooklyn Ann. If you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. But yeah, no, I definitely you know what? If you are ever going to do a Kickstarter or a Patreon, there is so much that you can actually offer. You may not think you'll be able to offer, but seriously, you can, especially if you're doing a narration, having one of your audiobooks narrated, you can have them in the credit. You could have one of the perks. Indiegogo is really good, and Patreon is great as well. And you could utilize both of them at the same time. I wouldn't do a GoFundMe. That GoFundMe, I've seen what kind of shenanigans and scams GoFundMe has
Yeah,
done.
that was like my bottom of the list.
Definitely. I would do an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter. I have supported numerous Kickstarters and Indiegogos, and some of the perks, they may not be glorious in the world, but you know that you're giving money towards somebody's dream. And I have a Patreon myself, and I'm very grateful and thankful. I'm very blessed to have people who believe in my content that I create, that want to give me their money on a monthly basis. You'd be surprised in how many people just want to help you succeed. They don't really care about the perks. When I back an indie creator, whether they're an artist or a filmmaker, I don't really overly care about the perks that I'm receiving. It's more of, I think this is a great idea. I'd love to see this come to fruition. So I would definitely give it a try.
I might have to pick your brain for like how to actually set that up. I have a Patreon account. I just haven't set it up yet.
Oh yeah, anytime. I don't mind sitting down and chit-chatting that stuff at all. Hello, Moon. Hello, Dylan. How are you guys? Moon says, hello, Brooklyn.
Hey.
Yeah, I tell my kids if you are good at something, I back them to work towards that. Even if it's a rock singer or an artist, I support them. And that's good, Zombie Guts. That's great. Either. I just love to support. Exactly. So Serial's another one. Like you see someone's stuff that you see their dream. Like they've been working on this baby, and in order for this baby to be born, it needs a little bit of monies. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of people out there that like to back stuff. So you can even
that's so encouraging. I really want my stuff in audio.
I would do it. A lot of people are afraid, including myself. Like there are things that I want to do, but I just don't have the funds for it. I don't like asking people for money. I don't know what kind of perks to give. I'm still in that predicament, right? And not everybody as a creative has the courage to do it. It does take some courage to do it. But when you do, you realize that people do want to see you succeed. Even people you don't know. You have no idea who the hell they are. They want to see you succeed. So they'll throw some money at you because they believe in what you are doing. And I honestly, from what I've read, and I do need to order some of your books to have in my collection because I like horror books. And yours is right up my alley. Mm-hmm. Oh, Joy Toy wants to know, is Brooklyn a gore whore? Me and Joy Toy consider ourselves gore whores. We love more blood, guts, and ass on a screen. So she wants to know, do you consider yourself like a fan of gore?
It really depends. Like, I haven't, although I respect the hell out of the movie Martyrs is the wrong example because I did like that one for like the way it went, but I'm not really into the torture porn type gore,
right.
But I love a good decapitation.
Yeah.
And like the Night of the Demons gore and like,
yes.
In another one of my favorite kills, I had the killer beat a guy to death with the corpse of his own girlfriend.
Oh, that's
and so
awesome.
like her teeth like tore his scalp, and like I loved writing that. And there is a part like in her Halloween party where a decapitated head gets all these tentacles like the Thing, and then it's coming and they're
awesome.
Like hanging off a cliff on a rope, and there's this like severed head with tentacles all chewing on the rope.
Oh my god, I also got ReAnimateHer vibes from the Headless
good
Doctor.
Blood splatter everywhere. So yeah, no, I guess I am a gore whore now.
Yes, you are. I'm always down to back and support an independent artist or writer before I back a big company. Same, Zombie Guts. very
Oh,
much the
thank
same.
you. Oh, serial killer. I did go to Silverwood when it first opened a few times when I was a kid. We were able to go, but I see from your comment that you go there every year. So you notice that they jacked their prices up a lot.
Oh,
And
wow.
so no, I haven't been to Silverwood since I God, for 20 years almost. But
Hmm.
I want to ask you about Silverwood. Do they still have bandits rob the train when you go and take the little train tour through the park? Because I thought that was fun when I was a kid.
Oh, wow. I've never even been there. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's a theme park, roller coasters and everything. They got a water park now too, but I haven't been since they put it in the water park.
Oh, yeah, we have Canada's Playland. Oh, and no more turkey legs either. I don't know what that means.
I don't know, but I love turkey legs.
No worries, Dark Psycho. It's all good. It's all good. Um, and he says yes, they still do.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I really, really, really need to start making more money so I can go to Silverwood. Unfortunately, my son has vertigo, so he can't go on any rides.
Oh, yeah, that sucks. My husband has heavy. He has motion sickness, so carnival rides are just not his thing.
Hmm.
He's got it really bad. He can't even play video games that have. He can do racing car games. That's about it. Or he gets sick. Mm, that sucks having vertigo.
It
Um,
does.
the water park Boulder Dash is fun. They used to sell turkey legs there. Oh.
Oh! Now, I knew that they have a floating bar because my mom called me drunk from Silverwood one time. And it was just so cute because she's like, they had a floating bar. And then she's all, I went on the lazy river. That's how she said it.
Oh, that's awesome. I went to a water park once when I was in the States. It was called Splish Splash. It was on Long Island, out in, I want to say Riverhead. It's been a very long time since I've been to the States, but it was out in River. I think it was Riverhead. It's called Splish Splash. It's some type of water park. That was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Now, some of the books, if you're kind of wondering, some of the books that Brooklyn Ann writes, His Final Girl, Her Haunted Heart, His Scream Queen, and Her Halloween Party. Her Halloween Party is a homage to Night of the Demons. So Bumpiest likes Night of the Demons as well. And Serial Killer was saying how he reads is through audiobooks. And yes, I love my audiobooks as well. Sometimes reading makes me very tired. So listening to an audiobook while I'm driving, which I really ever don't drive, or
Same.
while I'm working, like I'll turn on podcasts while I'm working at my desk and listen to them while I'm doing my stuffs. But yes, we should definitely talk about your indie or setting up something for you to get your books into audio. I think that would be great.
I really, really, really need to have it done.
I think that would be great. I think it would definitely help those that have an issue with reading as well, right? There are people who have a hard time reading. There are some people who just cannot read due to a mental health reason or whatever it may be. And I think that that would be great.
Mhm.
Right, Dark Psycho? If you want, definitely there is Brooklyn Ann's Facebook, Twitter, all stuff. So make sure you guys follow her on everything if you want to keep an eye on what she is doing. We have not. Oh, so you haven't been there since COVID, but we always buy the weekend pass. The lazy river is where you live.
Yeah, that's where my mom lived.
Awesome. We are getting to be that time. We're coming up on a little over an hour, and I don't want to take up any more of your Sunday. Is there any projects that you want to let us sneak peek in, or any shout outs that you would like to do for any upcoming project?
Well, I want to give a shout out to author Layla J. Amaros. If anybody likes monster fucking books,
Oh,
definitely her, like urban fantasy with like, yeah.
oh, nice.
Because she has a Eternal Light trilogy, and it's about Cerberus hounds, the people shipped into those.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
I love
then there's
monsters.
Hades and Persephone in there, and like their relationship's a hot mess. But
Right.
so it's really fun to watch. And then author Danye Coles is Black woman in horror. I figure I'm like, it's almost last day of Black History Month, so I have to
Right.
shout out to the Black horror authors.
Yes.
James White and Brian Barr, also highly recommend. As for what I'm currently working on, I said I'd still hush hush on my coming of age horror
Right.
because I don't know how long that's going to take me. So I'm currently working on more of my Brides of Prophecy series. And this is like my Dark Tower. Every series or every book I write ties into it. There's so many Brides of Prophecy references in the Be Mine books that
Yeah.
it's insane. So I have like vampires and sorcerers and whatnot. And I don't know if anybody remembers the Dragonlance book series,
Dragonland.
high fantasy. This one, it's practically a fanfic to Rasslin Majir, the sorcerer who took on the black robes and is very snarky and hates everyone. So that's really fun. And there's going to be a fight against some necromancers and some zombies. And
Nice. I like necromancers and zombies. Awesome. Thank you, Serial. And yeah, her books do sound amazing. I do definitely want to thank you for being here, Brooklyn Ann. I want to thank everyone else for being here. I hope you want to join us in a few weeks as we sit down with a actress, and her name is Tristan Risk. We'll have her on the show on March 6th. I'm excited to have her on. Have you seen American Mary? It's a horror movie done by the Soska sisters.
no, but it is on my list for soon.
Definitely watch it. Definitely watch it. It's one of my favorite female slashers, and I call her a slasher. One of my favorite female serial. Well, she's not really a serial killer. She could be considered a serial killer, but it's more of a revenge horror film than it would be a serial killer film.
I love revenge.
Yeah. And it's all about revenge. So with that being said, Tristan Risk played Beatrice in American Mary, which, like I said, is one of my favorite Soska Sister films. Definitely put it on top of your to watch list if you haven't seen it. American Mary is a really good female horror where it's revenge more than anything.
Got it on my list.
Yes, of course. And Joy Choices, thank you for the time, Brooklyn. You too, Mr. Scott. You too. Thank you very much for being here, Brooklyn. I'm going to go and contact you on Skype in a little bit to get those names that you were shouting out. I would love to add their names to the description of this YouTube video. The VOD will be up automatically, but I also like making little short clips to post them on my Instagram, Facebook, and other places. And I'd like to have those names involved in case anybody else is interested in them.
Oh, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you again, Brooklyn. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing Sunday.
Oh, you too. And everyone's so nice. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, and I told you it was going to be nice and laid back. We don't have to worry about anything.
I love the horror community.
Right? It's such a great community. Have a great day, Brooklyn. Thank you for
You
being
too.
here. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness gracious, that was awesome. Thank you guys so very, very much for being here. Another huge shout out to Brooklyn Ann. She is an amazing author and artist. I really enjoyed having Brooklyn on the show. Hopefully in the near future, she'll have an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter, Patreon, something, and we'll have her back on the show to see how her projects are going. You guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. Thank you for your questions. You guys are awesome. You know, I tell you guys how awesome you are all the time because you really are. So thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday to be here with us, to ask questions, to enjoy each other's company. And next Sunday, we will have Tristan Risk. Like I said, she is an actress. She is an artist. She will be on Coffee Chat of Horrors next Sunday. That will kick off our Women in History Month, starts in March as well. And I will be doing Brooklyn Ann was actually part of, and Christina Morgan were all part of our Women in History Month that was kicking off. I will be interviewing women in the horror industry, women that aren't, huge celebrities, where everyone will be talking about all of the big celebrities in women in horror. I will be talking with the other people, the indie artists in the horror genre, and many that you will see on the show will be authors and actresses and artists. So please stay tuned for that. If you're interested in the next upcoming show for Coffee Chat of Horrors, in the Discord, there's an event tab in there. You can actually click to be reminded about the event, or you can click on the link here and remind yourself about it. Thank you guys again for everything that you do. It's okay, Dark Psycho. I love my lurkers as well. You know this. I have no issues if you lurk. So thank you so much for even wanting to be in here and lurking. I do greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys Monday morning over on Twitch at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. We're going to dive back into Martha is Dead. I'm loving that game. Anyways, guys, I hope you have an amazing weekend. I love your guts, and I will slash you all later. Bye-bye. Why aren't you showing? Bye. Of course, you're not gonna fucking work.